name's EDELLE McMAHON, and I'm a musician and songwriter, Belfast-based these days. I grew up in a musical house, in a musical community, in a musical family. So while my parents weren't musicians, my dad's sister married a professional musician who played bass and guitar in show bands all right through the 60s, 70s and 80s. And mum and dad were in the folk choir when we were very, very wee. So my first music would have been singing in the folk choir at Carcrin Chapel. My dad's cousin was the choir leader, and it was, just all I knew. And then when I was about 7, I started Irish dancing. And through my Irish dancing teacher, Jared McQuaid, he was just one of those people. He was a great mentor to so many youngsters around Vale. If he saw you had something, he would take you under his wing for more than just the dancing. So with him, I learned Shanno style singing. He also taught me how to play Byron. Jared really taught me how to be a professional, how to comport myself on stage. He had great motivational speeches. He used to say, if your knickers fall at your ankles, step out of them and dance on. The show goes on. You didn't stop for disaster. You only stopped when the music stopped. It's growing up in North Monaghan. Music was very big in the house and in the family, and so it was inevitable, really.
Hope, what's more full of hope than to love someone, and hope, what's more full of hope than to spread your wings, attempt to fly. Love will bear you up and bleed you dry. Hope could lead you home, or could lead you to forgo a power someone would then own. But if you ask me to, I'd risk it all for you. Hope streets are dead end. Hope streets are dead end. Hope streets are dead end. Yet here I stand with my heart in my hand. Oh, here I stand, heart in my hand.
Oh yeah. Well, no. My main instrument, I think, is my voice. The reason I wanted a guitar. I think I was always a singer, even when I was young, and awful to listen to. I definitely, sort of believe that practice makes perfect. Not that I'm saying I'm perfect, but for me, music is a skill. I have a little bit of aptitude, but it's a skill. And so when I was young, I think I was always just really independent minded, and I didn't want to have to rely on anybody else for accompaniment. So for my 10th birthday, I asked for a guitar, and eyes were rolled because I had previously asked to learn the tin whistle, and I hated it and I never did any practice. So Mum and Dad bought me this tiny little half-size Encore guitar from the Argos catalogue, I think, for my 10th birthday. And my cousin, he gave me lessons every Saturday for a year, taught me the basics. But it was always about accompaniment, being able to accompany myself. I'm not really what you would call a guitarist, although I suppose playing it for, you know, over 35 years, I do have some level of skill, but like I'm a rhythm guitarist, I'm an accompanist. I'm terrified of up here. I'd love to be able to, you know, do all that solo stuff, but no, it's always been as a means to accompany myself as a singer. I came really late to songwriting. I never thought there was a songwriter in me. And I suppose I wasn't really interested in songwriting until I joined a band locally as a backing vocalist back in the late noughties. They had been asked to do a gig where they were going to sing all Johnny Cash songs, and they wanted to sing some Johnny and June songs. And I happened to know the fiddle player in the band at the time, and he said, would you come along and do this? And so I ended up getting involved and becoming the sort of permanent backing singer in that band. It was hilarious crack. We had so much fun. It was like having instant, you know, six brothers. And then when that band came to its natural end, myself and the guitarist Paul started just getting together for a jam and a bit of crack. And through him and the encouragement of my longtime collaborator and Jim Johnston, started to tentatively write some songs, but I would have been, it was early 30s, maybe 31, 32. And it was really only through their encouragement, co-writing with Jim and with Paul, that I really started to think, oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I do have something to say.
In a parallel universe, a place where love is not a curse, we met in time, ran away to the circus. We tiptoed on the strong man's shoulders, kissed blindfolded knife throwers. We lived forever, never getting any older. And the clowns never sprayed us with their tears. You were my fearless entertainer, with whip and chair, my lion tamer. We dined in style, candy floss and fire. I wore sequins, beads and pearls. You never looked at any other girls and cheered as I danced on the high wire. And the clowns never sprayed us with their tears.
Most often I will start with the guitar parts first. Write a riff or a chord sequence that I like, and then melody over that with tentative lyrics. I have a file on my phone, a little notebook app, and on that I have a document called Lyric Fragments. And anytime I come across or think of a lyric that I like or a concept that I like, I'll write it down into that notebook. And so when I have an idea for a song, or I have a guitar part, or at least one guitar part that I can then add to, and some melody and a couple of anchor lyrics, and I figured out what the theme of the song's going to be, then very often I'll go back to my little file and see if anything in there goes with the theme, and flesh it out from there. I suppose it's very kind of methodical in a way. Very rarely does the muse give me the kind of attention where I can just, where a song comes through you. I think that's happened to me twice in my life, but mostly it's kind of laborious. Every now and again, I'm doing a project at the minute where I'm going to be exploring the stories of people who've been damaged by the Institutes of Church and State in Ireland. And I'm collaborating with other artists, poets, novelists, writers. It's been a really amazing experience. And so for those songs, I have been, in some cases, given lyrics or given a poem to adapt, or a piece of prose, and it's been very different way of approaching things. One of the songs in particular, I collaborated with a woman who writes science fiction, I think, and she was interested in collaborating, so she sent me lyrics that I had to do very little to. So that was really nice. She was thrilled because she never would have ever considered herself a poet or a songwriter. She wrote prose, and she was astonished when she heard the song because I had to change very little of what she had given me. It was amazing. How was I supposed to know the future would become my enemy? Marching time, relentless peace. This storyline will show no clemency. Choices made in self-defense, believing in my own pretense. Yet here I stand in nakedness, full of hope and hopelessness. Perhaps I am a fool to dream, to harbor hopes of intimacy. Is courage mine to scale this wall, once guarded long and vigilantly? The armor under which I trudge grows delicate beneath your touch, emboldens me to dare implore that you could think that I'm worth fighting for. I know that if you fought, there would still remain impediment. This was once a fertile land that I had chosen not to cultivate. Now I know my greatest fear is not future barren years, but that you might pierce my shield and all my landscapes would be unconcealed. How was I supposed to know the future would become my enemy? Marching time, relentless peace. This storyline has shown no clemency. Choices made in self-defense, believing in my own pretense. Yet here I stand in nakedness, full of hope and hopelessness. I suppose dark acoustic folk. I mean, a lot of the themes are pretty dark. An old friend used to tease me that my music was misery porn. And so, I suppose I do cover a lot of dark themes. It's dark acoustic folk. Genre is more of a kind of a marketing thing as opposed to an art thing. But dark acoustic folk, probably folk noir. I suppose I live for all of it, really. I love the creative process. I love playing live. When you get an audience that are ready to go with you and you've connected with them and you're able to bare your soul and they are careful with it, it can be just a really magical feeling. That split second, when you've maybe hit a flow state in a performance and it's gone really well and you finish and there's maybe a second before the audience kind of comes to clap, that's like the best feeling in the world. It's just really, really delicious. But I do love knocking about the studio as well. I love being in the studio, whether I'm putting down guitar or vocal parts or just there while other people are adding creative things to my music. Absolutely love being in the studio. The only thing I really don't like is the promotion of it. I avoid that probably as like the plague.
I'm not leaving without a fight. It doesn't matter if I'm wrong or right, but I'm not leaving without a fight. We've been receiving down this old transmission line, but it's no use talking if the words aren't yours and mine. The words aren't yours and mine. I'm not leaving without a fight. It doesn't matter if I'm wrong or right, but I'm not leaving without a fight. I've worked all evening for that look upon your face. And if life is a bell curve, then the tale's a lonely place. The tale's a lonely place. I'm not leaving without a kiss. I don't care if we end up hit or miss, but I'm not leaving without a kiss. I'm not waiting to be rescued, to be saved. I don't need you, but I want you just the same. I want you just the same. I could love you just the same. So I'm not leaving.
I've had some really incredible experiences playing live. The 2 launches I did of my first album were memorable, although I remember very little of the first launch actually. It just went by in a blur. But most recently, I've kind of come back out of hibernation. But a couple of friends of mine down home in Monaghan decided that they were going to organise a gig for me to play. And so this incredible woman, Mary Lamb, who's now a friend, but who I'd met once beforehand, before she decided she was going to take this on, organised 2 nights in this gorgeous little venue called the Tin Church at Lara, which is in South County Monaghan. And it's a tiny little venue, all wooden panelling on the inside. And we ran 2 sold out nights there. And the first night in particular was it was Valentine's night, and I think everybody was a little bit giddy. So they all laughed uproariously at my first joke after my first song. And so I knew I had them on side. But it was just an amazing experience. You know, I left Monaghan almost 30 years ago and have lived in Belfast, but I really felt like I was being welcomed back home, you know, playing that lovely and that beautiful venue. An amazing crowd, so many friends and family showed up unexpectedly. It was really, really wonderful.
What have I become? Never felt so far from home. Don't know who I'm meant to be, or if this is really me. Maybe I am finally awake. Still I hesitate. We've both been here before, and I've never asked for more. I've tried never to compare the things I couldn't share. Smile and hide it, what more can I do? I don't want to be in love with you. Please let me hold you near. I promise that there won't be any tears. I am ready to concede, finally admit defeat, knowing that our stars could not align. And I'll never call you mine. That's okay.
Play live. There's no substitute for getting out and gigging and honing your craft, honing your stage craft, because very likely that's, you know, where a lot of you know, the living is to be made, is maybe with touring and selling merch, you know, not concert tickets. There's no money to be made from selling your recorded music anymore. It seems to be that the content creators are the only ones in this industry who, you know, who don't really get paid. Yeah, just hone your craft, write the songs, get them out there. Bandcamp is great. You know, they don't exploit content creators, to use the modern parlance, but they don't exploit songwriters. They're very supportive. It's about the music and the art. You can find me on Instagram. I'm not terribly active on Instagram, but if I have upcoming gigs, that's where you'll find out about them. I will plug them on Instagram. I also have a couple of YouTube channels, but Instagram was probably the place to find information about upcoming gigs, upcoming releases and stuff. I am going into the studio in June. Maybe we'll take some videos while we're working on stuff in there and post them to try and kind of generate a bit of interest. Yeah.
This far behind, but thoughts of you invade my mind. You're back inside, nowhere to hide. My tongue is tied, I can't confide to all the world, I must insist. I've buried deep the things I've missed from twisted solipsistic bliss. These thoughts persist, I can't resist. Though you were gone, the pull was strong. That's why it took so long. But I know that I diffused this balm. I wrote the songs, then I moved on. So why do I hear ticking? Why do I hear ticking? Extricated hearts rescind the years of uncommitted sin. This phantom limb, a flame undimmed, a hand grenade without the pin. But not for me, the sweet relief. You carelessly annulled my grief. What was discreet, now incomplete. A leitmotif I can't delete. Though you were gone, the pull was strong. That's why it took so long. But I know that I diffused this balm. I wrote the songs, then I moved on. So why do I hear ticking? Why do I still hear ticking? Ooh. Sultry, unpredicted glitch, a fumbled, long desired clinch. My fingers twitch to scratch that itch. My will to quit has been bewitched. Now everything and nothing's changed. A hard-won piece has been exchanged, and what remains of all that's gained? I'm unconstrained, yet still restrained. Though you were gone, the pull was strong. That's why it took so long. But I know that I diffused this balm. I wrote the songs, then I moved on. So